Hello BookTube. Today's video is going to be a little bit of an unusual video because I'm directing it specifically to a fellow booktuber of mine, Joel Swagman, because he's making his way through the Bible, and his Bible also includes the Apocrypha. Mine also has. I'm using the New Revised Standard Version, the 1989 edition. Now, my Apocrypha is wedged in between the old, between the new, between the Old and the New Testament. So several hundred pages wedged in between. Let's see if I can get. Let's see if I can find Matthew here. The beginning of the New Testament. Here's Matthew. See? So this is the entire Apocrypha wedged between the Old and the New Testament. Now, in Catholic, I have the bookmark there because I'm making my way through the Apocrypha a second time. Now, in Catholic and Orthodox Bibles, the Apocrypha is blended in to the rest of the Old Testament. So, the Apocrypha not only includes additional books, but includes additional chapters and verses that make their way into some of the books in the Old Testament. For example, additions to Daniel, additions to Esther, etc., etc. So, the Apocrypha is not only additional books, but additional chapters and verses. And those additional chapters and verses in Catholic and Orthodox Bibles, as I said, is combined into the other books of the Old Testament, like Psalm 151, and the prayer of Manasseh. We'll get into all of that. Now, before I make my way through the Apocrypha, there are two things I want to quickly get out of the way. The first one is, because we're talking about the Bible specifically, if you leave a comment with a long-winded sermon of how I need Jesus for my salvation, I'm just going to delete your comment and block you. I don't need your sermons in my life. Thank you very much. I appreciate you want to save me from hellfire or whatever, but please, you're just too overbearing. Now with that minor drama out of the way, excuse me. So, the second thing is, what is the Apocrypha? Now, I am not a Bible scholar. I'm not a historian. But from the tiny bit of research I have looked up, and from the little bits and pieces of information I have picked up online, and from reading the Apocrypha itself, I would say it was books. It was literature written by Gentiles towards a Jewish audience. Yes, that's what it is. And a lot of Protestants and Jews are going to clutch their pearls when I say this, but the Apocrypha reads a lot like the rest of the Bible. Maybe there's some doctrinal things that are very different from the rest of the Bible, but the literature styles that you'll find within the Apocrypha read very much like the rest of the Bible. And so it seems that it blends in perfectly well with the rest of the Bible. No need to say that these books don't deserve to be in there, because the style and layout is very similar, I would say. So, and one more thing before I start flipping the pages. The Apocrypha, not Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholics are not in agreement over which additional books and chapters should be included. So, not everyone's Apocrypha in their Bibles, for Orthodox Christians and for Catholic Christians, will look the same. And the reason I mentioned earlier that this literature was written by Gentiles with a Jewish audience in mind is because modern-day rabbinic Jews find no spiritual value in the Apocrypha. Because they don't include it in their Tanakh. That's what they call the Old Testament. So, let's flip through the pages, right, shall we? So the first one is the book of Tobit. Up to a certain point, these books, how do I put this? Up to a certain point, these books are all included in Catholic Bibles. This is the book of Judith. I'm going to flip through all the pages, in fact. This might take some time. Because, wait a minute. Esther. Now, Esther, interestingly enough, is in the Bible. And this is the entirety of Esther with the additions, so that the additions can be put into context. So you can see it starts with 11 and 12, because this is the Greek version of Esther. So the additions to Esther come with the original material, so that it's put in context. And then there's the Wisdom of Solomon. Maybe I can flip through Wisdom, several pages of Wisdom, because I don't need to go through every page, right? And then there is Ecclesiasticus, or the Wisdom of Jesus, son of Sirach. So the book of the Sirach. This is actually a very, very long book, and it reads similar to Proverbs. And again, a lot of Protestants are going to do pearl clutching when they hear me say this, but Sirach actually has more practical advice for day-to-day living when you compare it to Proverbs. So I'm going to flip through a lot of these pages really quickly, because this is a very big book. Baruch. So we're going to try to get to the end of Sirach here. Baruch. So this is the beginning of Baruch. Is this the ending of Sirach? Yes, it is. So Baruch is, I believe, an addition to... I don't remember. It's an addition to one of those other books, or it is a book on its own, but I don't quite remember. Maybe it's an addition to Daniel? No. The additions to Daniel will come later. Okay, the letter of Jeremiah. I think these come before or after Lamentations. This is an addition to Daniel, as you can see. The prayer of Azariah and the song of the three Jews. And then Susanna, also an addition to Daniel. These are actually short stories. Bel and the Dragon, also addition to Daniel. First Maccabees, all right. This is also a long historical epic. First Maccabees. And then Second Maccabees, which is roughly the same time as First Maccabees, but highlights different events of that time period. So, and then things get interesting. So, this is the end of Second Maccabees, and this is First Esdras. Now, First Esdras can be called Second Esdras or Third Esdras, depending on how you count Ezra Nehemiah. Ezra Nehemiah as one book or two books. And then Ezra and Nehemiah are part of this series of books that are called Esdras. So Ezra and Nehemiah can be one book put together, or can be two books separate. So this could very well be second or third Esdras, depending on how you separate or combine Ezra and Nehemiah in the Bible. And here's what's interesting. After Second Maccabees, the rest of the book, the rest of the rest of the Apocrypha, this is included in several Eastern Orthodox Bibles, but is only included in I believe, the appendix of Catholic Bibles. So it's not mixed in with the rest of the Apocrypha. Because up until 2 Maccabees, you'll find everything else that I've flipped through. You will find it in Catholic Bibles, but the rest, I don't know. Joel, if you're listening in, I hope you can answer the question. Is First Esdras and these later books in your Bible? Because I'd be very curious to know. So this is First Esdras. Oh, I got a little bit ahead of myself there. First Esdras. And then here's the prayer of Manasseh, which I believe is part of Second Chronicles in Catholic Bibles or Orthodox Bibles, the prayer of Manasseh. Psalm 151, part of Psalms in Orthodox Bibles. I don't know if it's in Catholic Bibles. I don't know. Oh, something's going on with my camera there. And then 3 Maccabees, which is also interesting, also part of Eastern Orthodoxy. And don't get me started on books that almost made it into the New Testament. I'm not going to cover those books today. What is wrong with my camera? So 3 Maccabees. And by the way, my Apocrypha is not complete either, because this Bible does not include books like the Book of Enoch and other books found in the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible. So this is only for Greek and Russian Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox, not Oriental Orthodox, and several other obscure sects that more smart people out there can reference. This is just Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic additional material to the Bible. And then 2 Esdras. Now 2 Esdras is very interesting because this is actually 3 fragments. These is 3 fragments of books that can be separated, combined, certain parts omitted, etc., depending on the Christian sect. So if we go down here, this is okay. Let's see here, comprising what is sometimes called 5 Ezra chapters 1 and 2, 4 Ezra chapters 3 to 14, and 6 Ezra chapters 15 to 16. So this book is actually cut into 3 fragments, and depending on which denomination, which Christian denomination you ask, is of different spiritual importance. Now, also in 2 Esdras, you will actually find the teaching of purgatory, which Catholics do believe in. So purgatory is in 2 Esdras. Maybe I can find it. We will flip through the pages. See here, it's separated here. Maybe we'll find it. Here. State of the dead before judgment. This is the teaching of purgatory. So what will be the afterlife before the end of the world? No intercession for the ungodly. I guess Catholics are not in line with the teachings of 2 Esdras. Anyway, there you go. The teaching of purgatory is in the Apocrypha. Interestingly. So this is not meant to go through every single page. This is just so I can show you bits and pieces of information as I go along. And finally, 4 Maccabees, which can be found in the appendix to the Greek Orthodox Bible. Only the Georgian Orthodox Church still includes 4 Maccabees. It used to be included in the Romanian Orthodox Church, but not anymore. So 4 Maccabees is actually a particularly rare gem. Joel, do you have this one in your Apocrypha? I'm interested. In your Bible, I'm interested. You can see a lot of these headers here, so you can have ideas of what could be, what you might find in here. This is not an overall summary of what the Apocrypha, is in the Apocrypha. It's just some of my basic overall thoughts of the Apocrypha. And there you have it. That is the end of the Apocrypha. I'm on the book of Sirach right now. I'm rereading it. I've already read through the entire Apocrypha one time. This is my second reread. But this is only my first read of the NRSV translation. I've already read the NIV translation of the Bible. And King James onlyists, I don't want to hear your sermons either. Thank you very much. The NRSV is my favorite translation of the Bible because it transcends denominations. It doesn't cater to Catholics or any other denomination, and it's a favorite amongst many biblical scholars from a secular perspective. Okay, thanks for listening in. Goodbye.